So welcome to our In Conversation With. Today I'm absolutely privileged to be talking to Rees again. Rees, who's set up this project with me, and hopefully it's producing some really interesting conversations. But we've also got Tyla Grant, who's joined us today. And I've not met Tyla before, so it'd be lovely to hear a bit about you, Tyla, and then I'll hand over to Rees to sort of steer the ship today, really. So Tyla, tell me a bit about you.
What do you want to know?
You have a podcast, yeah?
Yeah, I've got a podcast, blog. I do all the online things. Basically started last year when I was leaving uni because I was like looking for a grad job, looking for a flat, trying to do all that like adult stuff, and all the help and resources I could find out there were for people whose autism doesn't present in the same way mine does. And I went to my uni's transition team, which is like their special unit for people on the spectrum, and they were like, "You're all right." I'm like, "Well, I'm telling you, I'm not." So I was kind of out of their, what do you call it? Like what help they can provide. And then I was just like fumbling forward, and I was like, I can't be the only one going through this. Like, so I jumped online as kids do, and started just documenting my journey of getting my first job after uni, then just living alone and dealing with adulthood.
Excellent. So you're happy to join us in our conversation today, yeah?
Yeah, totally.
Brilliant. So Rees, where are we going to go today in our conversation? What do you think we talk about?
I think, as always, we should start with a little bit of lockdown chat just to see how we're all getting on, and because we're quite far into it now. How far are we? Like 2 months?
I don't want to know.
It's beyond belief. If someone had said 2 months ago, we would have literally, well, I don't know how we would have felt, but we're here, aren't we?
I'd isolated for 3 weeks before the official lockdown because I was just like, I'm not traveling to work. And I was like, oh, it'll be fine. If I'm in, then I don't know what I thought, but I wish I'd still gone like and lived my life for those 3 weeks. I don't know what I did.
So how are you doing now, Tyla? How is it going?
It's a bit more real, and there are a lot less changes to whereas I think the first 3 weeks everyone was settling into it. Then the middle bit was just like, so like when you actually have to social distance and go into the shops and stuff, it's like that's when I noticed the change in the outside world because I'm not leaving my like apartment. So it'll just be when I go to the shop and there's a different measuring place. Like 1 week it was they were wiping down the trolleys for you. The next week it was like the lines on the floor of the aisles, and the one after that it was like queuing, and it was just like I know it's to keep me safe, but it's just long. Everything takes so much longer. And then in terms of working from home, that's a struggle. Like I'm fortunate to still be able to work from home and stuff like that. But yeah, the change in communications and like emails just to check in. I'm like, I am not someone you check in with. What do you want? Tell me what you want. I'll give you an answer. Like, am I supposed to be doing a different task? Are you hurrying me up? Like, I don't know if there's lines for me to be reading in between or if you're genuinely just checking in. But if I answer back, what do you want? Like, it's just going to get a bit sticky. So, yeah.
From an autistic perspective, is there anything really good about this, do you think?
I think on the other side of it, there'll be reference points for us to communicate our needs better and the impact being autistic has with neurotypical people. So like this whole thing about Zoom fatigue, because you can't understand or take in someone's like non-verbal communication. Yeah, hi, that's my life. So being able to relate back to times like this when we are in conversations after, I think will be helpful.
What's the worst thing for you? Any emotional challenges that you're having?
Not really. I'm quite an isolated, but not isolated, but I'm selectively social. It's just, I don't have the option to be social now. And it's just I've had a lot of time to reflect and think about what I want like my life to look like after this, which has been good. But in terms of turmoil and change, like I'm quite open to the fact that life's always changing and there's a few things that you can control. You just focus on what you can control, then it gives you some sense of security.
What about you, Rees? How are you doing? We spoke about a week ago, didn't we?
Was it only a week ago?
Maybe 2.
That's where I'm at. It's like Blurg's Day, the 2012th of January. I've completely lost any track of time and it's hard to focus in on doing work and stuff at this point. So it's no. This is nice. This is the first like proper conversation I've had that isn't like apologizing to someone for getting in their way in the supermarket. But yeah, I really agree with Tyler. And like my actual life hasn't been affected. I've always lived alone. I've always worked alone. My day was going out for a walk around the park or going to the supermarket. So nothing's really changed. But it is scary, and there's a lot to be concerned about. And then the tension that rises, especially online. Here we go. Rees is banging on about social media again. But, you know, I think
that's your community, that's your social world, isn't it? And if it's threatening, how do you place yourself there?
I've always said that it's the life support system that's slowly killing me, and we're definitely very much in that point. You know, the day after our interview, speaking about it out loud made me realise this is bad. So I went missing off it for 5 days. Just had a complete holiday. And that was actually the nicest part of this whole lockdown was 5 days. Nothing mattered. Like all of that drama going on Twitter and stuff, all those silly little arguments about semantics or whatever concerned the autism community that week just didn't matter. And that kind of gave me a bit of a perspective on it all. And then the second I went back, people were arguing. So it was, yeah.
What do you use it for, Tyler? And do you find that you've got to really tread a very fine line when you're on social media?
Because my whole end game with what I'm doing is to provide like life skills courses or like classes or just workshops for autistic people. I'm trying to build a community. So I have found myself not saying some of my opinions if they're not fully formed yet, because if someone challenges me, I want to be able to say like, no, this is what I think. It's not what you think, but this is why I think it. So I find that I can't or don't just say things I am thinking before I say them, which is I suppose what you're kind of supposed to do anyway. But when it's just general chit chat and conversation, I'm like, I can't say this yet because like it's going to come across the wrong way. So in terms of being like present on social media, mute and block are my best friend. And this whole thing around what I understand the power of social media and that it can be a force for good, but there are ways it can be used that are better than others. And I don't know whether that's just my opinion or like, because no one really knows, like it's a new thing. So if being
find it's different with different platforms though, because Twitter is very raw, very
violent.
But you've got quite a big presence on Instagram, and that feels a lot more positive and a lot more
because
you're playing to the right audience.
I've sought out the right people. I'd mention like the way I write my posts, especially like the carousels and stuff, I don't assume I don't assume I'm every autistic person, and I keep it quite fact-based and I don't speak for anyone. Like I just did a post about, was it alexithymia? No, was it? Yeah, I think it was. And I just stuck to the facts. Like I'm not saying that every autistic person has this. I'm not saying when autistic people do this, it means this and that, because everyone's intentions are different and situations, like there's so many variables that you actually can't say that many autistic feel like, yeah.
Did you get it wrong before you got it right, Tyler? I mean, that's really sensible.
No. I've always been intrigued by social media. So when I studied media and culture, so did my dissertation in like influencers and how they basically post their bum everywhere when they say they're into fitness. And I went into it knowing. And as soon as I went onto Twitter and saw like, because it is every day there's something different and there's something new to learn. But at the same time, it's like every day there's an opportunity to say something wrong. It's just like, there's no tolerance, well, little tolerance, and there's little let me teach you or let me explain to you why you don't do that. It's more don't do that, you can't do that, and I'm just like, oh,
the condemnation of it. And I think people get a thrill out of that.
But then how are we going to get anywhere?
But is that what people want? This is what I've been given a lot of thought. I did a massive rant over the weekend because I've, after we spoke about this is probably where this conversation is going to go, I really started looking at it. And it just broke me and I went on this big mad rant. And what is the end game? Speaking broadly, there doesn't seem to be a specific goal, but then you've got to break it down into, it's not a community, it's a series of cliques.
Yes.
But then within that, do you want integration with society or do you want segregation from society? And there's lots of conflicting views, but they all seem to claim to want the same goal. And but what is the goal? What is the audience? What is anything?
Exactly.
Can you compare it to any other minority? Not that I'm calling autism a minority, but a select group.
We are a minority group. Really.
Okay, I've got to be careful of my language, but is there any comparable?
I used to compare it to feminism, just in terms of, we're looking for equality, but then it garners this bad reputation because there'll be one or two extreme voices that then get singled out and viewed as the example of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, something like neurodiversity, incredible, great idea, great concept. In theory, it's flawless, but then when you see it online, it's a vocal minority. They're saying, we're the master race, we're better than these neurotypicals, and just lashing out on parents and everything all the time, sweeping generalizations, which is odd because as a group we don't like sweeping generalizations made towards us.
Do you think it's a consequence of the so-called literal thinking, the kind of, I've got a thought and that's what I'm sticking with because that serves me, which is what I see sometimes in autistic children?
Maybe fractionally, like just a tiny bit, but Tyler, you're probably going to be able to explain this to us. We had this chat which didn't make the final edit of the last video. Every culture is like this online. I came from comics Twitter, and it's exactly the same drama. It's exactly the same exclusion.
When you said about knitting one, it made me laugh.
Twitter seems like it's more hardcore than autism Twitter.
Yeah.
Is there a reason behind like the tribalism and kind of the archetypes?
It's filter bubbles. So when you're in your feed, you only see people that have that are in your community. You don't see the wider world. So it's like when you hear about Facebook during elections and stuff, and they'll show you stuff you agree with, and then one post that you really, really won't, so that you engage with that. So Twitter is different in the fact that you just get fed people that agree with you, or people who are on your side arguing with someone else, and you've got the mob mentality of let's join in, and you don't see the world outside of the community that you're in online.
Gosh.
But just on similarities to other similarities to other communities online, like even in Black Twitter is just an entity, like it's great and it's hilarious, but at the same time there are little topics that recurrently come up there as well, and it's just like, but when it comes to the Black race existing in real life, we kind of all know that we don't have the upper hand. So we kind of work together to get the upper hand. It's just online between ourselves, then we can say what we want. But then it's like something happened the other day where the BBC wrote an article about what was happening in Black Twitter, and we were like, what are you doing? You have no say in this. So I think, and also on that we mentioned about literal thinking and whether that's partly why it's like this within the autism community. And I kind of think it's more to do with the freedom that being online has. Like, you can say anything who's coming for you, and autistic people, well, I'll speak for myself, generally in social situations, if you're not 100% sure in what you're saying, you're not going to say it, because I have social anxiety as part of like a comorbidity. But it's just like online, I can say it, and if it goes wrong, I can delete it. Or if no one agrees with me, no one's going to know it was me. Some people don't have their names in their profiles. Like, there's that whole, it's a different world where really it's a level playing field, because if you're able to type, you're able to talk.
It's interesting.
Well,
if you're in the room together, you might actually like each other. The people that are kind of.
This is the thing. It's completely different in real life. Being at your places and all the groups and stuff I go to, it's nothing like autism Twitter. In a good way. That the argument about, is it autistic person or person with autism, that lasted 20 seconds. Everyone said what their pronouns were, and we all respected it.
Yeah.
But online, that's been going for years, and I don't know if that's a case of there is genuinely new people who don't realize that, or people know that it gets a reaction out of people. So if I was on there, I was like, okay, I want a bit of attention my way, I'm going to say something knowingly provocative. And it's interesting what I can say stuff that I think is quite good in terms of quality content, and it won't get very far. And then I can just make a little offhand comment and it will suddenly go viral. Last night I made a funny little joke about, anyone who does the autism challenge on TikTok, they have to buy us a Lego set as an apology. Funny little joke, and that's what goes viral. Yeah. Or I made a joke about how
you're just naughty, Rees.
I am, and I made a joke the other week about how when I open birthday and Christmas presents, I can't show gratitude despite really feeling it. for me, that was a funny little joke. When someone inboxed me and said, "Oh, my son does that," and now I know that he is actually grateful, and this means a lot to me. And I was like, I want to take credit for this, but I know I was just being really silly.
Yeah. It's like I actually like welcome the parents that are in like trying to view the community and understand their children a little bit more. But for me, because of my experience growing up and what I've been through, when I get a parent come to me, I am a little bit standoffish. But
Massively.
And I'm just like, this wasn't for you. This isn't your space. Like, I think I'm talking to autistic people and autistic people only. Like, I make my content for them, and I didn't expect to have to explain what this term means to like and all this stuff. And it's just like,
that's the nature of it, isn't it? So if you're in a free publishing house, which it is, you haven't got anybody publishing it, directing it, that is the downside. It's a free publishing house. You can say what you want, and you have to expect that actually anybody could respond. So it's difficult, because if that then curbs what you say, it hasn't got any value anyway. So maybe you just have to expect that and not rise to it.
Yeah, it's not. I've not had anyone say like anything. Have I had anything negative? I've had people disagree with me. I don't think I've had anything overwhelming.
You go back to them. If someone disagrees with you and it's a manageable debate, do you go back and debate, or do you just leave it
publicly or privately? If it's not,
on the platforms.
If someone was to disagree, no, because the podcast I posted with the ABA therapist, obviously people didn't agree with that, and they left comments well written and explained their points, and I was like, thanks for your comment. Like, that's the whole point of this. Like, we want to get the different views out here. Like, the therapist had her reasons, and then I can hear your reasons as well. I don't have a stance. I've not experienced it, but again, like, thanks for your comment. So it's I'm not neutral on everything. I do have my preferences when it comes to some things. I do have my own beliefs in that, but on cases that I don't know enough about ABA, so I can't have a stance on it. Like, and I think there are a lot of autistic people who, if they knew that about me, they would be like, "Oh, well, you should be against it." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know everything yet."
You can just be the conduit.
It's the internet, though. You can have that opinion.
Sorry, Rees, say that.
I think this is the nature of social media, but it's like, Tyler, what you're saying is actually very unique and wise to you. Saying you don't pass comment on something you don't know enough about, whereas other people will happily pass comment about stuff they barely know anything about.
TikTok at the minute. Sorry to cut you off, but
no, go for it. TikTok. What's happening on TikTok?
Right. So it's filtered into.
Talk to us. Tell us.
I'm coming. Right. So the autism challenge started off as a hashtag, as something that autistic people were using, and then it's been appropriated, and we're basically getting jokes. Like, they were horrible. They were absolutely vile videos.
Can we just go back to the start then and lay this out properly? What was its true origins then?
From what I've read and what I know, it was just, I don't know if it was I don't know if it was attributed to a sound as well, or if it was just like showing off your stim toys, saying what you do when this happens, but it was used by autistic people. I don't know what the actual challenge comprised of. And then it's been jumped on by neurotypical people, or just people who were ignorant, and they've decided to fake having seizures and play dumb, and just the videos were disgusting.
So it's like, how well can I act being autistic? That's kind of it.
But it wasn't even. I don't know what autistic person they were trying to act like. I don't get it. I didn't.
It's more of a mocking stereotype, I would.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah.
Describe it.
Yeah, and then so TikTok were made aware of it. Videos that people saw were being reported. Videos got taken down. The hashtag is no longer on that platform. You can't search for it. Any video tagged with it gets taken down. Is that not a solution to the problem? Because what more can a platform like TikTok do?
Is that good? So it's gone away.
It's gone. But then now we've got all the petitions. You've got people with large followings within the community posted about it and showing the mean comments that they got online. It's like, right, well then, what has you sharing that you got a mean comment done? Have you reported the comment? Because all you're doing is instilling fear to your young audience about being on social media, rather than educating them about the damages and the harms of being on social media. Like, it is all for, I can't think of a better word than clout, but there we go, attention. It's all for attention.
And bring it back up again, because in fact it will go away because they've done the right thing. But if people keep talking about it, people who didn't know about it will start looking for it.
Exactly.
And it becomes perpetual.
What are the odds in a few months' time someone else is going to bring it back up and go, hey, remember this from how outrageous this was, to get the attention back on them?
It's not even, and then they're like, because TikTok's algorithm is, right, then this is another thing. They claim that TikTok's algorithm is discriminatory to disabled people and like people who aren't white. And TikTok's algorithm, they've come out and said it feeds you what you want to see. So if you engage with content that is non-white people, you'll be shown non-white people. If you engage with content that isn't like, this is like me adding this bit now, but if you don't actively seek out autism related content, for example, they're not going to show it you. And there are very few people in the world that do seek out that content. So the reach on those posts will not be the same as the reach on a post by a fashion blogger showing off 4 different tops, will it? So that's why the reach is limited on posts by creators who make content to do with their disability, because no one's searching for that. And very few people want to see it, but those who do will be showing it.
So how do young people, the autistic community, a lot of the young kids I work with, they do use social media and they love it. They kind of grow into it. It's about 12, 13, 14, TikTok dances, posting. I've got one of the lads doing a lot about aeroplanes. How do you run a course that could keep them safe? Because that would be really interesting, or to give them the intelligence about it. Because their parents, I mean, I don't know anything about it, so I can't teach the younger kids. They need somebody like you, a role model, to give them some clear guidance.
Well, this is the thing. I think the only person who I know might do something would be Carly Jones, I think.
But you could do it. Look how much you know.
You did a master's in it.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting about, it really made, the TikTok thing really made me think, why is there such a mass audience of people who didn't give it a second thought, who thought that, doing impressions of disabled people was okay, and no one stopped and thought, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe this is a little bit. It
goes on in every playground still.
There's kids going for like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the problem. But then it doesn't stop at the playground anymore, which is very concerning.
Yeah, but then this is like, yeah, I think what you're saying about online education, about being present online, is it is needed, especially in every community. Like, you make your feed on every platform, and every platform is constantly introducing, and there's none of them affect, but you don't have to be on any of them.
But I think the autistic kids I work with, they do love it, and it's a fantastic social tool, but they are more vulnerable than everybody, but they're more vulnerable because they believe, they're very gullible. They believe everything. They believe the likes, the friendships. They're mortified with the negative comments. They can be crushed, and that helter-skelter of emotions on top of everything else is exhausting. When they're a bit savvy about it, like you are.
My connection is absolutely pathetic, and I don't know what's happening.
A lot of beer. That's what's happening.
So do you think social media's got more intense because of this lockdown period?
And it kind of had a nice week, didn't it, when it first started? But then it's weird because, not to bring it up again, but when Caroline Flack died, we kind of had that burst of, it was almost a wake-up call to go, hold on, we should be really nice, we should be kinder online because there is people behind these accounts. And that lasted maybe a week. That's probably an exaggeration, a couple of days. Yeah. And that was kind of the same with COVID as well. Everyone was kind of kind and caring and neighbourly for a few weeks. And now we're at the point where everyone's quite passive-aggressive and lashing out at each other. And that's where I've become quite jaded and disenfranchised by it all. Because what's even going on?
The people that are doing the good work haven't got time to be on social media, because there's quite a lot.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. If
people who are posting good stuff and people who are out there in the community, and it's the people maybe that are at home feeling angry, bitter, frustrated, disconnected. This is their only outlet, and it's not brilliant.
Which is why I'm quite quick to block someone rather than, I used to really engage people who are trying to start arguments, or you can tell by the tone. And then what I used to do back in the day, I'd retweet them out to my followers and kind of set the dogs on them. And then I realized that's like a horrific thing to do. So now I just block, but then blocking kind of empowers them. They go, haha, I've been blocked by Rees. That means I won the argument. And, I had it yesterday after I did that big rant about what even is autism Twitter. And someone felt that me blocking them was an invite for them to make a second account to come back to it. It's like, come on, dude, this conversation's over. It's pretty trivial, so let's not even waste our day on this. I want to go off and...
Reese, be honest, if you post something that you know could be provocative, then you've got to risk someone coming back. We talked about this before, that you...
Oh, massively, but it doesn't need to then spiral out into some big mad
No, so then
argument.
you have to work out your strategy and just accept it. So if your strategy is blocking...
Well, yeah, which is where the block is perfect.
Just accept it.
And, every now and then you can go to someone, okay, it's weird. It's a very social media thing anyway, that two conflicting opinions seem to be grounds for an argument. I come from nerdy Twitter, like comics Twitter and stuff, and, you can see full-on blazing personal rows because one of them didn't like the latest Star Wars film or anything like that, and it's
so
very much...
Do we need to have a bit of a row on this to be watched, do you think? Do we need to be a bit more controversial?
If you want to have a fight, I'm down.
Well, I think we're all a bit too moderate. We're a bit too nice and a bit too moderate, aren't we?
I'm slightly mullered.
I've not got the energy for a scrap right now, I won't lie.
No.
I think that's the point we're at as well with the lockdown going on. There's a lot of passive aggression, and I'm definitely bottling a lot of things up. You can tell by like my tweets. I just keep talking about Batman Forever, and I keep buying toys and stuff from that film from 1995. And it wouldn't take a psychologist to realize Reese is going through some things right now.
Yeah.
This is him kind of regressing back to childhood. And it's interesting. I didn't really think of that until I thought of that. And, when I first got the diagnosis, when I was fresh out of hospital and really messed up, I used to go to the toy shop and buy Star Wars figures because it reminded me of when I was a kid and my dad used to take me to Toys R Us. And it's like, oh.
Can I say, Reese, people have done a lot more damaging things when they got their diagnosis. I think going to buy toys.
Oh, yeah, buying like a Batman Forever.
The
I bought a Laserdisc the other day. You can't buy Laserdisc players. No one even knows what a Laserdisc is.
At least you own it.
Let me asking, Tyler, when did you get your diagnosis?
I was 17.
And how did that feel?
Yeah. How did it feel?
Yeah.
It didn't mean anything to me, and it didn't until last year because I didn't receive any help. I was depressed at the time, so I did a couple of sessions of CBT. But I don't think, not that they didn't help, but I got more from listening to motivational speeches on YouTube. So I did that, did my A-levels, and because in my head it was always school, college, uni, and then grad job. So I stuck to my plan, kind of. Then I had a lot of difficulties while I was at university, like resat my first year, changed course about 3-4 times. I planned a lot of events. Again, like it's this whole, what is the stereotypical autistic person? Because I'm like an event planner. Yeah, I used to run club nights. I was netball team social sec. I lived with loads of other people that I didn't know. Like my first year I was living with 13 people, and then I think my second to last year I was living with like 4 lads. Like it was so chill. But
so
then the challenges I had were more.
Can I ask a question? Somebody might say, what makes you autistic then if you can do all those things? And this is not me asking, this is listen going, well, if she can do all that, what is her autism? What is the bit of you that's autistic? Is that a personal...
Pardon?
Can I ask that? Is that all right to ask that?
Yeah, that's sound. I still have challenges in like my everyday life. So it'll be in terms of the insomnia. I don't sleep that well. I struggle with communication in terms of what do you mean? What are you saying? And like, do you mean what you're saying? Masking is something that I still do. So I present a different person to every person just to get out of the social situation quicker. And it's beyond having different personalities for different places. It's more a case of I embody. So like there'll be times I get home and I'm like, I don't know who I was today. And my core, at the core of me, like my morals are still the same, but it's just picking up words and phrases that I just do not use. Like there'll be times when I've gone to clubs that I really hate, and it's just like, why have I done any of this? And I think there was a time when I was 8, I just turned 18, so it was the summer before uni, and I didn't really have I didn't have any friends. So I was like, right, 18-year-olds have friends, let's go get some. Started working in a nightclub. There was one girl that I befriended. She was vile, We like, but it was just a case of, I needed to have friends, so because everyone has friends, and I'd just do whatever she'd say, essentially, to the point where I was spiked one time, and then we were like, still, yeah, and then I'd get like dragged. It's just, I was very easily manipulated, which is kind of hard for some people to believe, given that I'm quite outspoken. But then again, it's a case of, it's social things that I do not understand. Can't date. What's dating? What do you say to people? Don't do that. And it's just, yeah, everything's just oh yeah, like oh yeah, like 5 weeks later, that's what was going on there.
You seem to be able to unravel it though, which is kind of a very.
I have a lot of time on my own to do it with.
Yeah, but some people go round and round in circles and never come up with an answer. It sounds like you've got a really kind of rational brain in there that's really.
Well, if I can't, this is the thing. If I can't come up with an answer, and if it's deciding what's actually important, because if it's a situation that's going to happen again, then I need to work it out, and maybe I need to either do it again to work it out, or just sit and think about it to work it out. So dating, I don't understand that, and I'll just take a break for now. It's all right. It's fine. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, and it is not now. But when it comes to like executive dysfunction, so you can't see the rest of the place because it's a mess, and I'm just working out how I like to tidy up. So my mum used to call me half a job, because whenever we'd have chores and stuff, I would do part of it really, really well, and then just leave it and just go and do something else. So what are you doing? So I'd sweep, and I'd do the actual brushing part of it, and just leave everything on a pile on the floor, and she'd be like, you were finished. Why don't you just finish it off? Like,
how do I do that?
To me,
I've got a special pile in my corner as well, and every couple of weeks I'll hoover it.
Yeah, because that's 2 jobs. And it'd be like, so I'm just now like realizing how to fit chores into my life. Like I can't do all the washing up at once. So like one day I'll separate the washing, and then the next day I'll wash it. But to expect me to do end-to-end tasks of washing, folding, like it's not going to happen. And just being a little bit more gentle on myself when things do like that do
I suppose
happen.
if you're living by yourself, you can make those kind of rules. It's just harder when you're with somebody else who has different expectations.
Well, because I've lived with other people as well. So when that was happening, because we'd share washing machines and shared kitchens and stuff like that, so I couldn't be the sloppy one because it'd make their living like not fun. We were all studying and stuff like that. But it was then we had like quite open communication, and we'd just be like, right, I'll like we split really rogue tasks. Like one of us would sweep and one of us would mop, but like sweeping and mopping is just like, it's just one job. But then one of us would set the mop bucket and we'd break it all up and we'd get it all done, but we all picked the parts that we liked to do the most. Like,
useful, clever.
Yeah, so everything got done. It's just, I think this isn't even related to what you asked, but like having a diagnosis now, it's just a case of accepting the fact that your life might not look like what adult life or someone else's life is supposed to look like. Like if you enjoy or if you function better waking up at 6 a.m. every morning, even on the weekend, then do that. Like I used to feel like a bit guilty because even like when you're around other people, you'd wake up at 6 and be like, what are you doing? It's the weekend, you weirdo. And I was like if I then stay in bed till 10, I have a horrible week the following week. So it's like, it's not worth it just to look like I'm living. Yeah, because that just looks like it's fun and it's not fun. So,
and do you think that comes with, and I'm asking you this, Rees, as well, if you think about your trajectory through your childhood before the diagnosis, but you were always autistic, this insight comes not just with an autism diagnosis, but it comes with a maturity, a more adult brain, do you think?
Yeah, I've been thinking on this tweet that was self-awareness is the noose around my neck and autism Twitter is the guy kicking the chair from under me. So I think it's interesting to be so analytical and constantly, you know, the main thing I found I do a lot after the diagnosis is trying to work out, is this autism or is this just human nature? And you can go insane spending your life thinking about that. So I'm getting increasingly better at just not caring. Like you were saying, you know, we're not there to conform to any rules or anything. So I'm going to do what I want to do or feel what's right by me. So, you get up at 6 a.m., I get up at 10 a.m. And, with the insomnia and stuff, it's like, do I battle that by forcing myself to sleep or getting on some medication or whatever? Nah, I'm not going to fight it. If I can't sleep at night, I usually get up and then start doing housework. And then when I fall out of bed the next day, suddenly everything's clean and I feel a bit better about that because it's like it wasn't wasted.
The thing about social media then, because if you lived on your own and didn't connect with anybody and that was your rhythm and you only had television programs to compare yourself to.
It makes you really weird like me.
Actually, the social world, social media can connect you with other people doing their life differently too. So you can say, oh, my different is my different, but I'm not the only person that does it differently. That must be quite
massively. And I know I'm always the guy who slates social media, but that's the best thing about it is one, finding people you can connect with, but then also finding people who are kind of the same as you, but completely different.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best bit for me is the diversity, is that I'm an autistic person, but I'm nothing like Tyler. I'm nothing like whoever online. I can't think of names. Fuck them all.
Lots of the others, all those other wonderful people.
The rest of them, the plebs. There can all be an autism legend like me. I've had a beer.
I'm sure it's just the one.
That's all it takes. I don't drink too often, but the weather was nice. Why not?
So tell us about your nomination, Rees.
Oh yeah,
Who did that?
Take it seriously.
Someone put me through for a nomination, and it was just really. I could see everything people write when they nominate, and it was actually a really nice long thing. And then they send you an email that you have to fill out all these forms to prove that you're doing what you're saying you're doing.
But you didn't say you were doing it in the first place.
Well, no, but someone put me forward for it, and they were like, "Okay, if you want this nomination, you've got to actively prove that you're contributing to whatever you're saying you're contributing to." So it was like this big long CV with all these web links to news articles and stuff, and then it's sharing it around, getting people to vote. And I've had about 30 votes, so I don't think it will get very far. I don't know how. Because
But just saying you're a nominee is good enough, isn't it? It's really good.
Yeah, that's it for me. And seeing what everyone's writing, to know that I've had that impact on people and that they remember kind of things I've done in secret. That's where it's really important. But yeah, that was nice. But I guess with that sort of thing, it's definitely a popularity contest, and I lack the clout online to do that.
In secret? Do you mean in real life?
Yeah, but like. This is going to get really dark now because this is I was doing a lot of one-on-one autism sessions. There's a company called Shires based in like Coventry and Warwickshire.
Okay.
And they're doing like one-on-one therapy, but it's cheap. It's 20 quid a session, so I can afford that. And that was the whole thing. It was about I've got a lot of issues with my ego, and I feel that once you do something selfless, but if you talk about it, it then becomes selfish.
Yeah.
And I was doing all this sort of stuff. Even before the diagnosis, I'm on so many donor registers and stuff. And then when I got the diagnosis, I was starting to do things for autistic kids, and making a big deal of not telling anyone or not letting them tell anyone.
Yeah.
And that's really messed up. I'm getting better.
I kind of live at... Sorry, go on.
If someone wants to then like do a post or whatever that I've sent their kids some toys or whatever, like Autism Santa. I'm Autism Santa. I should let them and I should take the praise. Yeah. But I was so resistant to the praise because suddenly that makes me egotistical. It makes me narcissistic or whatever. But I have I still have an issue with it. If someone tried to give me a compliment now, I'd probably fight them.
Oh no, I'm the same. Like, because I have a friend who does like social media stuff as well. He's trying to build a YouTube channel, but in photography. And when I hit a milestone, he realized a couple of days after and was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" I was like, "I don't know. It's not that it's not a big deal because like I've worked for it and I kind of wanted it, but it's just a case of I don't like I don't know."
Yeah, you don't want to seem boastful, and that's
where
it gets complicated because then that's when like I look at a lot of big like, especially in the autism community, I look at a lot of big accounts with envy because I know what they're doing comes from that position of they're turning in on themselves and it's what they gain from it. And I'm kind of jealous that they have that success, but I know to get that success, you do have to be quite selfish, quite self-absorbed, and it's
and what do the numbers give you? Because if you enjoy posting and it's an outlet,
online numbers are big, like that matters a lot.
What do they give you? Do they give you validation? Do they give you money? Do they give you more opportunities?
Sometimes both.
Huh?
Yeah, it depends on who you are.
This is the issue I had on the weekend, and I had this big sulk. It was like, what can you measure from these Twitter people, because the only measurable progress is self-gain. You know, they've got money, they've got a book deal or anything like that, and it's what's the community benefiting from it? I guess, you know, to be fair, they have no obligations to the community, and if they want to make some scratch on it, good on them. But I don't know. I just look at the big picture. And sorry, go ahead.
But then why should if a brand was to come along and profit off the autism community, it'd be a problem. So, but then is it okay if an individual in the community does the same? If they don't give anything, they're just taking. But then maybe the perceived value of the person's different. Like the autistic person is different to what is the.
Well, this is the thing. To me, I see them accounts and they have no value to me, so I place no value on them.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where it gets itched. Like
is it a numbers thing? So if someone's only got 30 followers, they've got no value.
Well, this is a concern I had, and I hemorrhaged followers by saying it, that there's a huge diversity issue within autism circles. A lot of the big accounts are kind of, someone described it to be perfectly. They said, it's this kind of middle class white autism, and if you're anything other than that, you don't really get very far. And I really stuck to that. And you see these big accounts, and they're white middle class guys doing quite well for themselves, but then they're repeating stuff that, you know, maybe a small minority.
What does doing well mean, Rees? Does it mean an income, or does it mean a profile? I'm not sure.
Both, yeah. Like anything like that, any sort of notoriety or.
How are they earning money from Twitter? People
power.
Book them for talks and things and buy their books. Is that how it works?
No, you can just put a little link out to PayPal or Patreon or any
what are
sort
they
of
Ko-fi or just anything.
Yeah,
some of them just ask for money.
Well, this is the thing, you know, should a tweet be monetized? And, you know, no. I get that, you know, someone will see these big Twitter threads or whatever and think, okay, that was of value to me. I've learned something. I'm going to throw money at them. Okay, I get it. Fair enough. It's not for me, but I get it. But then it's a case of my understanding and observations were a lot of that content being put out and then monetized. Other accounts and that before that. And, you know, I've had content stolen from me and it's hurtful, but I'm just another white guy. I don't matter. But when you're stealing from a minority or someone who's vulnerable.
You can buy a chocolate brownie for 25p, or you can buy a chocolate brownie for $4.99. It's still a chocolate brownie, isn't it? It just depends what the packaging's like and whether they're clever enough to market it to a different audience. I mean, we're stuck because obviously we do live training, and now people are saying, well, you do it online. And we give away all our training to parents, but we charge the county council for the teacher training because obviously they've got a budget. So if we put it online, then how do we don't know how to charge.
You put it behind a paywall.
So will the council no longer chip in if it's online content?
It's just difficult having this conversation at the moment. I could wait for that conversation, but there are people that need support. So it's just I could give it all away. I happily, because we're a charity, I could say, here's all our content for the last 5 years. But is that stupid? I mean, I'll have to speak to you, Tyler, offline.
Yeah.
That's stupid to do. We've got lots of really useful content. We're writing a book and people are wanting to get the book when it's published. But I'm happy to give it all away. But people say, that's a silly thing to do. You've got to charge people. But then...
Well, it's a fine balance.
How are you going to be sustainable without it? Like, what's the future?
That's a very good point, Tyler.
And then
we need money to keep the business going. But it's really hard, though, because if we're a service provider to people who are vulnerable and needing support that's not out there, you know, it's hard to put a figure on it. You know, I don't want any...
I'm not being funny, but look at the National Autistic Society. Like, they charge ridiculous amounts for their courses. I looked at them, tried to go on them, and that's what sparked all this off, because I don't understand why in a world where there's so much done digitally and so much online, you want to charge me £250 to go on a course so where I can understand how to like live my adult life when I don't have access to like social services. That does not make sense. Where am I finding that money from?
Some of their conferences, which we've spoken at their conferences, and people were paying £250 for the day. And I thought, then we did a conference in Warwickshire last year. We didn't charge anything. We just said, people come. We want you to...
I understand things cost money.
Yeah.
Where's it going?
You've got to find a middle line, haven't you?
Yeah.
It is tricky. You know, even from my comics background, if you put stuff out for free online, people don't value it as much. So you have to fight this fine balance of offering value for money, but also not making your stuff appear worthless.
Well, I think with social content, like if you're doing it with the not end goal, but if you're eventually going to launch a product or want to monetize it in some way, which I'll be honest is what I'm doing, but there's value in what I'm going to be providing. Well, I think there is, and if people don't buy it, then they don't. But it's a case of just giving. You can give a lot away without giving away
everything.
So yeah, so maybe give away the who, what, and maybe not the why. Like different parts to it, and then they'll come to you to tie it all together. Like if you don't release everything at once, people aren't going to put the dots together themselves. They'd rather just come to you and be like, right, what are you saying? Just put it together for me.
So what's your day job? Is your day job same thing that you do in your podcast?
I'm a data analyst.
Oh.
Yeah, for now. Don't like it, but pays the bill, so I'm really not complaining. Oh, I am. Yeah, I do want a job in social, but the issue is I can't push products I don't believe in. I don't want to just work for a fast fashion brand. I don't want to work in a company where because again, I understand the power of social media. I don't want to be pushing something that doesn't add value to someone's life. So then I need to find a social enterprise to work for, and it's just hard. Is your main message autism, or is your main message Tyler, and that just happens to have an autism component? No, so I think there's something mentioned before about how we appear online. I just wanted to mention this, but I'll do it now. Basically, I have my personal accounts, but then I have my autism accounts. So my personal Twitter, I talk about social media. My autism Twitter, I'm trying to talk about autism in a way that doesn't attract people. What's your account name? I'll go and look at it. Twitter or the autism one?
Oh, Instagram. Instagram's the best one.
What's your Instagram one?
Yeah, my Instagram is a lot better. Adulting autistic.
Adulting?
Yeah.
As in ING?
Yeah.
Good, and also mention it on here, because then people who listen to this can check into it as well.
Yeah, let's begin to wrap it up, because I need a toilet because I drank a beer.
Yeah. No, it's been brilliant. I've learned a hell of a lot today. It's been fascinating. I do think there's something about using social media to your advantage, but being cautious. So if you could sum it up with let's say somebody was listening to this who was in the maelstrom of some difficult back and forth sort of stuff, what would you tell them to do? That's one question. The other question is, a young autistic who wants to go online and build a profile, what advice would you give them? So two things. What do you do if you're in the middle of some horrible debates that you don't feel safe? And what do you do if you want to start? That's a very long question, but can you give me some very simple advice, either of you?
So if you're in the middle of a debate that you don't want to be part of, just back out, put your phone down and exist in the real world for a bit.
Brilliant advice. And what about someone who's trying to get into it because they like to talk to people that way? It's their social connection, but they're also thinking like you, there's stuff they want to say.
Be authentic and three-dimensional, I think, is the best way to do it. Yeah. I mean, there's so many voices out there saying the same things, sharing the same views, which is great, but put your spin on it. Give it from your perspective. Be a three-dimensional person. I know me ranting about Batman forever probably isn't good content, but it still shows that I'm a three-dimensional person. This is my special interest.
There's more than you than just autism facts, yeah.
I'm also going to talk about cooking or doing a bit of gardening and stuff. So it shows a three-dimensional person. I think depending on your demographic, people like that. I mean, I've definitely kind of fallen in with the autism mums and stuff, the MILF squad. And I'm not cutting that.
Top brand.
And I think a lot of the content they want is to show that their child can grow up to be, an actual three-dimensional person.
Yeah.
I don't want to say normal person because I'm far.
No, but parents want to see that. I get a lot of parents who think, where my child is at now, is this it just amplified? I go, no, they're on a journey. Where they are, I think they're going to be amplified. You're moving through. Compare yourself now to your 12-year-old self, Tyler. I mean,
my best performing post is my graduation picture. So, I think I understand that parents just want to see autistic adults and be reassured that there is a future for their child.
Yeah, because the world so far has told them there isn't, you see.
Yeah.
I think it might change in a few years' time because people will understand that when their children are 7, 8, 9. But my generation, we were told that our children would not really come to anything. Don't have any hope, Lower your expectations.
And it's about, I grew up obsessed with Star Wars, like a proper little autistic little nerd looking and watching Star Wars videos on a loop. I worked on the last 3 movies. If I went back in time and told that to the kid I was then, he would be mind blown. Yeah. I lived my dream. Obviously, I'm not happy, but that's a different situation. But I made something of who I was.
You're doing something really clever, really important that you're passionate about.
And you could have said, "Oh, that kid's saying silly stuff and liking Star Wars. He's he's not going to grow up to be anything of worth. And then, I guess how you define worth. I'm rambling, but yeah, you can be someone. You can be a three-dimensional human. Don't compare successes, but realize that you can go out there and be more than what you think you can be more than people will tell you can be.
Brilliant.
You know, I remember being sat with the, what do they call them, employment counselors or whatever in school, and they tell you what job you're going to get. They tap into a computer. I was like, I'd really love to work in the media. I'm obsessed with film and video games and stuff. And he was like, oh no, do you want to go stock shelves in Tesco? I'm so mumbling right now.
Can you imagine? Reese,
and they take away the dream. You're 14 years old and they're taking away your dreams.
Wait, I was like, how old was I? I think I was about 8 or 9, and my primary school head teacher told me that I was never gonna finish primary school, let alone make it to high school.
Hello.
I was like, that's a bit rude.
Like,
yeah. I think we could end on that very positive note, though, don't you think?
Massive. I'm going to keep ranting at the camera even when we've cut.
No, I'm going to stop you because you need the toilet. Anyway, so listen, don't put that in. Let's finish now. We'll press stop, obviously, because it's been a joy speaking to you. And but don't disappear, because obviously I want to say goodbye properly. But listen, guys, you've been brilliant. It's so lovely to talk to you.